Hello out there and welcome to a new series here at ACCB. This is the Bastard playing Endless Legend. Now, I only got Endless Legend maybe a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago or so, and I've played through one game already and it's really impressed me. It's a relatively new 4X game from the makers of Endless Space, and it uses the kind of same universe but a kind of fantasy setting. And it doesn't do anything outstandingly new, but what it does is take certain 4X conventions from various other games and fuses them together in a really fresh and innovative way. And it's really fun, it's really good. So my immediate thought was, well, let's record a series of it, because it's awesome, and you should love it too. So let's roll up a new game. What I will be going for will be the... I think I'll be going for an expansion victory, which is basically controlling a certain amount of territory in the world at any one time. And partially because of that, and partially because they're relatively straightforward, and if you guys are going to kind of get into the game through this, it'll be interesting to see, I think, from a more regular perspective with the other ones than one of the crazier factions, because there's a lot of very asymmetrical factions in this that kind of break the game and reform it together. So we'll go with the Volters. The conceit behind the Volters is that they are basically, I believe, the survivors of a crashed spaceship in this fantasy world, which is pretty cool. And they kind of live underground in big kind of pseudo sci-fi vaults, hence their name, and then they come out every now and then and yeah, fight everyone else probably. So rather than rely on random, we will actually take in one of each opposition, because because I prefer to do that by quite some degree to anything else. So let's make the macrophages can be pink. That makes them stand out a bit. Okay. We're going to go for difficulty hard, normal game speed, world size large. Yeah, that's fine. 2 continents. Let's go for 4 continents, because I played 2 continents last time. Continent shape, we'll go for disturbed, because why not? And I think that should do it. So yeah, with the Volters, a few of our special things are, there are kind of resources in the game, both luxury resources and strategic resources. Luxury resources you can use as boosters to give you a temporary overall boost to your empire, but the larger your empire gets, the more resources you need to do that on a regular basis. Strategic resources you tend to use up building things. However, the Volters have a holy resource. As it says, in the workings of the great orrery that is the universe, your people value and exploit one strategic resource above all others. Once it has been selected and collected, you gain powerful new abilities. So I can define strategic resources as holy resources, which are then used as boosters. When the booster is activated, it means I can teleport between my cities with units, which is very handy, especially if you've got a very wide-ranging empire, as I will have going for the expansion victory. I get plus 200% holy resource per turn during winter. That's really good. You'll see why later. And I get minus 50% expansion disapproval. So obviously that segues in quite well. Other things I have a knack for knowledge. A people used to hardship and penury manage to get more out of whatever they have on hand. There's not much under the ground, so I get +1 science on terrain with science, and veins for Auriga. Auriga is the world. Skilled at working the ores that run like blood vessels through the rocks of Auriga, the faction is highly efficient at extracting strategic resources. +1 resource on strategic resource deposits. That's really good as well. It means my strategic resources flood in, which obviously, again, syncs up with holy resource. A few other things I get, some technology that I have available to unlock, i.e. that I think it's unique to my civilization. But we won't go into those in too much detail, because we'll go into those when we unlock them. My main units, which are Dawn Officers, my cavalry, Marines, which are my ranged, and Titans, which are my infantry, big robot things. I have a Volta main quest. Your legends speak of places and things that you do not see on the world of Auriga. It is time to learn more about your planet and your past, and in this way preserve your future. Two things I do have. These techs I start with. So one is Open Pit Mine, a crude assembly of shacks housing the workers and tools, pickaxes, pans, barrels, etc., needed to excavate and process a common resource. So that gives me a head start on luxury resources, not the strategic resources. And the second one is public libraries. The first step in improving science is to bring together existing knowledge. This building will help to increase the science produced. So I build it in the city, I get more science. Great stuff. Okay. And with that in mind, obviously we're single player only, let's kick it off. We should get, so there's like presumably one of our underground vaults constructed from the remains of our crashed spaceship. We'll get a little intro sequence for each faction, so I'll let that play through. One of the interesting things is, as the world's being generated here, you see these words towards the bottom of the screen that are popping up. It's essentially like a poem, which is spoken from the point of view of Auriga, the planet. So, yeah, it's all a bit hippie. I like it a lot. I'm looking forward to playing the Voltas. I'm looking forward to playing a campaign of each of the factions in this game, to be honest, because they're so different. My first campaign was with a faction called the Wild Walkers, who are basically like industry-heavy elves, which is obviously quite different, but they get loads of boosts from being in forests and stuff like that. And they're quite straightforward as well, but there are some really bizarre factions in this game, and I'm really looking forward to playing them and maybe recording them for you guys, and maybe do some multiplayer as well. But hopefully this will get going. There we go.
Our legend spoke of a great journey beneath the stars. Safe in our halls and minds, we ignored these old tales. But then the great quake cracked our halls open, revealing ancient secrets and relics. These unknown relics carried our patterns, our images, hints of a hidden past. We took them and fled the destruction, seeking a new life on the surface. Now the legends and relics of our past show the way to our future. The journey will be dangerous, sometimes deadly, but we go forth without fear or ignorance. For courage and knowledge are the bywords of the Vultures.
That's the leader. That's my my kind of avatar, I guess, my person. Okay, the first thing that happens here is that we've met the Draken. The reason why we've immediately met the Draken is because the Draken start the game knowing everyone, regardless of geography. Again, this is one of those things I talk about. Really asynchronous factions, fantastic. Another thing about the Draken is that they eventually gain the technology to force peace on people. They can force people to be peaceful, so that's interesting. At the moment we're in Cold War and they're indifferent. That won't change for a long time. First things first, look at this map. Look at the map. Look how beautiful it is. Even the parts you don't explore look pretty. And if you zoom out enough, it turns into more of a kind of top-down parchment map style effect. Lovely. Lovely. Okay. So first things first, we need to build our first city. We also have our first hero, Petrov Judit, but we'll get to her in a second. Now, if I hover over these, you'll see in the bottom left, as you'd imagine from normal tooltips, we get some various things coming up. Now, it will be very handy for us to be able to... All this is Enchanted Forest, actually. That's fantastic. That's a lot of Enchanted Forest. That's really good. As you can see, here's the normal temperate forest. Here's the enchanted forest. Extra science. And, if you remember, I get extra science from areas that have science. So, that's pretty sweet. However, I also want to be near this river, because you can get really good improvements for river tiles. And I want to be next to Mineral Rich and Black Earth as well, because they're both really good anomalies to start out with. So, you know what we're going to do? We're going to settle just here. Just here looks great to me. So we're going to pop our first city down there. There we go. We've encountered our first minor faction. Minor factions are really important in this game. Every area has a minor faction. Every minor faction has different units and different bonuses they can provide you. if you pacify them. Pacify them means either doing a quest for them or beating them up really hard and then rebuilding their village for them. You can then also, with your pacified minor factions, assimilate them into your empire so that you can build their units and get extra bonuses from them. Really interesting, really cool. So we've encountered the Keratan, so that's probably in the zone I'm in at the moment. The Keratan are best described as arachnoid centaurs. They are a subterranean people tending to white hair and pale skin. They prefer to feed on warm-blooded prey but can survive on cold-blooded beasts or insectoids. Excellent. Assimilation effect for them, I get plus 5% defense per pacified Keratan village on my units. But that may happen, but it'll be a while from now, basically. It will be a while from now when that happens. So here's my city screen. If I zoom up, Rothkalor is the name of my first region, which is pretty cool. And that's the name of my first city as well. Because, and this is important, especially for the 5X veterans, you can only build one city in each zone. Now, that may seem restrictive, but it's totally not, because the zones aren't too big, and it just means you have to think really carefully about where you place your cities. Love it. Absolutely love it. So now that we've settled there, we've got quite a big river running through here, which is nice. We've got a glass steel deposit there, which is excellent. That's a strategic resource. We'll start picking that up soon. Hidden springs, quite a few anomalies here. This is the Keratan village here. Like other insectoid species, Keratan reproduce by laying eggs in large cocoons. The protection and care of these cocoons caused villages to develop, when otherwise the Keratan would be migratory foragers. Everything has this kind of interesting, developed tooltip on top of it that you can read, and it's interesting. I'll probably end up reading out way too many of them. Let me know, please comment if you find it irritating that I constantly read these out, but I just find them great. And with that in mind, I'm going to read out another one. For mineral rich, vast splinters of mineral encrusted stone thrust from the rocky ground. Some of these inorganics are sure to have useful industrial applications. And on the other side, I've got black earth. The ancient loamy soil of this region is rich in bacteria and nutrients. Farming will be unusually productive here. Hell yeah. Lots of food there. Huge amounts of food. Now, take a look at the top of the screen. Here we've got our kind of generalized city information. Obviously, if you haven't played this game before, this means nothing to you now. Don't worry about it. What is important is this. This is in Endless Space, the kind of previous sci-fi sort of iteration of this game. They had a kind of generalized resource mechanic called FIDS. Food, Industry, Science, Dust. Dust is kind of like money, but with a few more applications. In this one, it's changed, so now it's FIDSy. It has influence at the end. You have to spend influence to do things politically, which again is really interesting. And where basically the more population you have in your cities, you can pop them into different, focusing on different things. So I could pop in as a food worker or an industry worker or a dust worker or whatever. You still get all of these worked tile resources coming in. You still get all of those. It's just you get more when you have particular population in particular things. So if we have a look here, so this number 2 here is an indicator of how long it will take for me to grow my next population. Not long, partially because of this black earth here, giving us all that food. If I move it over here, it's actually not making a difference, which is nice. I'll still get it into whatever I do, so I might as well not have them in food, because it's not really going to help me. Now, what are we going to build here? Well, the first thing we're going to build is a Founders Memorial. This one-time construction creates a memorial to your leadership in the founding of your empire. Commerce, patriotism, and politics will ensure it grows quickly. A nice little boost. You can only build it once in your empire, so here it's going to be basically... it'll only take 5 turns, and it gives me +2 of all resources, apart from influence, which is +1. But that's a really nice boost at the beginning. So let's open up and put our Founders Memorial in there. And you see it'll take us 5 turns. If I move here, it'll take us 8. So we're going to keep that guy. We're going to keep our one population beavering away in industry, because that's a big difference. That's 3 turns difference. That's really good. I could queue up other things as well, but we'll leave it for now. Another great thing about Endless Space, which sounds... It's such an obvious UI decision, that I'm not sure how it hasn't been done before. It may have been done before in games I'm not so familiar with. Right-clicking on your mouse takes you back to whatever you were previously looking at. It's so easy to navigate. It's such a lovely flow. Great stuff. Okay, so we've got Petrov Judit here with 2 units of Marines. So what we're going to go do is go look at the ruins, actually, because we haven't seen any ruins, which is interesting and quite unusual. So we are going to go do just that. We're going to move over here, uncover more of the map. Unusual that we haven't seen any ruins yet, but that looks like it might be one there. Either that or a village. Another minor faction village. And while we're here, you know what? Let's have a look at our hero. So here's Petrov. And we might actually... Can we give her the improved movement and improved... As you can see, yeah, basically with heroes, and with units as well to a certain degree, you can equip them. There's kind of RPG elements in terms of equipping armor and weapons and I don't know what they're called. What are they called? Special equipment, kind of accessories, I think, onto them to give them boosts in various areas, which is useful during combat. It's really cool. They also have skill trees that you can use. Again, really cool. You can assign some of the heroes to armies, and you can assign some of them to cities to boost the production of the city in different kind of ways according to how you level them up. But we'll just stay here now. I'm not sure, do we have 45 dust to equip her with these, the Iron Ring and the Iron Talisman? I think we probably do. Yes, I do. And that's given me extra vision, which means we've met another minor faction. The Herners. These are itinerant tribes that follow herds and crops according to the seasons. Skilled foragers accustomed to living off the land, they are well known for their belligerence and their skill with the bow. They're orcs, basically. If we assimilate them, we get plus 5% attack on our units per pacified Herner's village. So that's pretty cool. Both those are pretty fighty ones, which is fine, because we're going to have to do a bit of fighting to expand, really. If you take a look at our city as well, look at that cool Volta city, because all the cities look different for the different factions as well, which is lovely, obviously. And I'll show you how it grows later, because that's cool in and of itself. But end of our first turn. Oh no, it's not the end of our first turn because I've neglected to select research. Okay, how research works. It's quite interesting. In a way, it reminds me. I wanted to say that it reminds me of a cross between Civ Beyond Earth's tech web and a more traditional tech tree that you'd get in like Trad Civ or 1,000 other Fork games. But it's not. It's not like those. What they are technology pools. So basically there are eras. There are, I believe, 6 eras. Yes, 6 eras. And essentially they're split up into 4 areas, but that's just kind of for convenience. Kind of the more military stuff is up here, economy and population over here, science and industry over here, and empire and expansion over here. Basically, you have to just research a certain number, I believe it's 9, yeah, 9 technologies to progress to the next era. They don't have to be, I mean, for the first one, they obviously have to be in here because that's all we can touch. But say, to get to the 3rd era, I just have to have researched 18 technologies from 1 and 2. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So you can go out however you want within the pools that you have unlocked and available, which is really nice. Obviously, we've already got Open Pit Mine and Public Library, which is pretty nice. I'm going to immediately go for... I haven't seen any ruins yet, but you know what I'm going to immediately go for? I'm going to go for Language Square. Which is with a public square dedicated to the practicing and teaching the many languages of Auriga. Conversations with minor factions can now move beyond pointing and grunting. So basically at the moment I can't pick up quests from minor factions in order to attempt to pacify them. I can only do that with a language square. With that in mind, we're going to get that first, because that's really handy to get going early on. And then we'll end our first turn. Another thing to note is that the AI turns in this are really nicely quick. They don't seem to grow too much. Okay, here's the first part of our faction quest. Each faction has its own quest with its own background text, its own tasks, and basically it's one of the routes to victory. If you complete your final main quest, then you have something to build, a wonder to build. And if you build that wonder, which reflects your faction in some way, each of them are different, then you win a wonder victory. That's what I did with my first campaign with the Wild Walkers. I don't know. I'm going for expansion here, but hey, maybe this will work out. We'll have a look. So again, I'll read these out. So if you don't like the sound of my voice, well, you probably shouldn't be watching anyway. New quest added: Wide lands, wide eyes. They call themselves Vaulters. They found me scorched and blackened in an ancient cavern that their people had long forgotten. How long had I lain in that darkness? Only the stars know, but my limbs, rusted and groaning, tell me ages must have passed. I will never forget the looks on their faces, haunted, awestruck, but above all fearful. The realm that they'd called home, the subterranean paths and chambers that riddled the planet, had come under attack from some cataclysmic force, had shaken and split and ruptured, decimating their numbers. Their leader, the first of the bloodline as she is known, recognized in me something valuable and brought me back to life in that dusty crypt. For this I will be eternally grateful. I vow to be her faithful servant until the end of days, wherever that may lead. Now they retreat to the surface, where they believe they will find respite, where they hope they will find answers. First of the bloodline Zolya has made the first priority the assimilation of local tribes. While they strike out into unknown lands under the sky's watchful gaze, I will try to remember past days. Okay, so that's cool. So interestingly, usually the quest, I believe, is from the perspective of the leader, which is the lady stood here, Zolya, presumably first of the bloodline Zolya. But this is from the perspective of someone they presumably found in like cryogenic suspension in a spaceship under a fantasy planet. I love this game. I love this game. The way it blends boundaries and genres. I love it. So the summary: my saviours have retreated from the chaos of the subterranean realm, seeking sanctuary on Auriga's surface. Our first task is to assimilate a minor faction. In a region that belongs to your empire, pacify at least one village of a minor faction, then assimilate them. Okay, that's great. That's what we were going to do anyway. Our reward will be 15 titanium. So great. Fantastic. I'm almost tempted, to be honest, to just go do it by beating them up. But maybe not. We will do a bit of exploring first. Let's look around here. Okay, there's our first. Okay, another minor faction, the Sisters of Mercy. Not the goth band. The Sisters of Mercy are a small but respected nation, living simply though well in their solidly constructed towns. A recent offshoot of other humanoid peoples, they are content to dedicate their efforts to giving mercy where and how they deem it is most needed. So if we assimilate them, we get plus 5% health regeneration per pacified Sisters village. And there's a ruin, and I'll show you how ruins work in just a moment, my friends. Our hero has a bit of a weird walk. That's fine. Not much else to do right now, so we'll end turn there. Population evolution. That means our city's gone up by 1 population. So what I tend to do every time this happens is I do tend to have a look and see if... I tend to take the population going up as an indicator that it's time to relook at how my population is laid out. So we'll see how that's going to work. So at the moment there's 5 turns. If I go there, it reduces to 4 turns to the next one. Does it give me... Whoa! If I move from 4... If I put in science, it moves from 4 to 2 turns. We'll keep it in science for now. We will keep it in science. Okay, let's move down here with our hero. And when you're next to a ruin, basically you can search it. Okay, we found 30 dust. That's great. And then we will move out here to this other ruin and do the same there. Wandering around, digging up ruins is a pretty good way to pass your time in this game. And turn again. Okay, let's look over here. We're starting to get into kind of frozen areas down here. That's fine. Okay, we've got a quest. I've done this quest on a previous one before, so let's have a look. It's called Manual Labour. Among the strange and wondrous things you have discovered while traversing Auriga is this new oddity, the Aeon Biforge, a creation of the Endless. The Endless are kind of a kind of race, a kind of progenitor race who seeded the galaxy with various different species. It seems to have been constructed to allow the simultaneous smithing of two different strategic resources. While the idea is not overly complex, it is clear that you will require the aid of delvers to efficiently exploit the forge without continually cracking your head on the unusually low exhaust fan. Good bit of humour introducing this as well. The delvers are like the dwarf analogy, minor faction, so we need to find some of them, recruit them, and get them in here. To correctly use the Eon Biforge, which smelts titanium and glass steel simultaneously, you need the help of people roughly the size of those who invented it. In this case, the Delvers should do well. Come back and search the ruin with a Delvers unit in your army, and a minimum of 10 titanium and glass steel, and that will give us native district, which is really nice. So, but one for another time, because it's not something we can do right now without knowing where there are some Delvers, frankly. Encountered another minor faction. This is going to happen a lot near the beginning. The Jotus, who are kind of two-headed wolf men. The ancestors of this faction were bred for blood sports and as watch beasts. They have rudimentary intelligence and great ferocity. Their clans are held together more by fear and strength than by more sophisticated social bonds. We get an extra 0.5 vision on our units per pacified Jotus village, which is pretty sweet. In fact, I probably prefer that to any of the others, but it's going to take me a while before I get over there. I need to assimilate someone as soon as possible, really, for my main quest. But there we go. Let's end turn, and we should get language square now. And when we do that, we'll find out what these Herners want to be pacified. So there we go. We've got language square. We can now parley with the natives. What next? What should we go for next? I'm tempted to go for search party. It just improves search on ruins, which is really good to get early on, obviously, so I'll probably pick that up. I think I'll pick that up. In areas where resources or artifacts may lie hidden, troops can be ordered to hunt and dig for loot. Let's do that. I do like that one. Okay, we are going to head over here. I'm going to talk to these Herners and see what they want. This minor faction seems surprisingly dismissive of your power, given that they are pathetic in comparison to your lordly brilliance. Perhaps if other peoples had the same excellent opinion of you that you have of yourself, diplomatic efforts would go more smoothly. I need to awe those village fools with the glory of your empire by colonising the region of Cathian. Is this the region of Cathian? It is! That's an easy one. That is an easy one. So I just need to get a settler there, basically. Not the nicest region. It may have some resources that I don't yet see because they only turn up after I have researched a few things. So that's interesting. Temple ruins. Oh, that doesn't seem to have. Oh, I must have already said that's where I got the dust from. Yes, I know. Okay, my hero's leveled up, which is nice. So let's inspect her. And it's always nice on your, I think, on your first hero to lead off with this one. A familiarity, Indiana Bones, pun. A familiarity with the history, legends and myths of the abandoned places of Auriga gives the hero a greater chance of unearthing ancient relics and stumbling upon forgotten quests in these ruins. So again, improve search on ruins. It's always good with your first hero, I think. Incidentally, these at the side, these are all the different stuff that she does. So she's got a good long range for attacking. Techno Lover, which means she gets plus 50% to a bonus provided by equipment made with the same resource as the Holy Resource. Not that we have one of them yet. Various other useful things. Yeah, but we're going to go for the search party one. Definitely going to go for the search party one. To begin with. And yeah, research is complete. I know that. We're about to build our first, or our only, Founders Memorial, so let's do that. Okay, so we've built a Founders Memorial. Let's have a look at what we can build now. So I could get to work straight away on a settler. That's not a bad idea, and I will put one in the queue. But I can also build a public library. If you remember, that'll increase the science I've produced. We'll just put a few things in the queue and then we'll shuffle them around how we want them. And then I can also build a... okay, hang on, I'll just go back a second. A borough street. In order for a city to grow in a controlled manner, new fields must be added in a way that permits regulated and sanitary growth. By building streets, gutters and sewage systems, cities can expand without the attendant problems of disease and congestion. Okay, this is how your cities expand in the game, and this is just fantastic. Okay, basically, this is my city centre, and I can place districts around it, and every tile around the districts then becomes workable as well. And the tile where the district is placed, it usually gets -1 food, but it can get other bonuses as well. Yeah, it gets -1 food, but basically +1 of everything else except industry. It does various things with approval as well, like I'll get -10 approval on the city tile, but +15 approval per level on the city tile. So it can end up being really big. It also doubles as a resource extractor if I actually put it on a square where there's an extra resource. We haven't got to resource extractors yet, but you know. So anyway, I'm going to place one of those down. Now, if you look here, it shows me, it highlights in yellow the areas I'm going to expand to. I went there first because that is the area I'm going to expand to, because it leads to this anomaly here, these hidden springs, I believe they're called. Yeah. So we're gonna head in that direction. It's also an extra river tile, which is nice. So we're gonna go there. So that's the kind of borough street being built, but not yet actually built. Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. These all take quite a bit of time for us at the moment. If I move my other guy in there, it'll add 2 to search party, but I don't think I'll get to a ruin in the next 2 turns anyway. But it'll cut down the production by quite a bit. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do that. I'm going to build a public library first, just because it's quick. Yeah, we're going to do that. I'm going to build a public library just because it's a bit quicker. Then we'll build a settler, then we'll build a borough street. I think is a good way to do it. And you know what? We'll end turn there. Or we won't, being as we still have to move with our hero. Ah, there's a ruin. Oh, there's also a chromatic land out there. That's a shame that we didn't build near that. But we weren't to know. Also, I just wouldn't have anyway, because having all these in close proximity is much better. We'll end turn there, and then we'll probably wrap up the episode, because I imagine I've gone on for longer than half an hour with my bubbling enthusiasm about this game at the very beginning of it. So yeah, there we go. This is the first episode of this Endless Space series with the Vaulters. Endless Space, Endless Legend series with the Vaulters. Hope you enjoy it, and come back next time for more Endless Legend. Bye!